Hello, and welcome to the first character creation session of Floating Fortress, our new campaign. We're going to be doing 4 of these character creations, maybe an extra session or 2, maybe, to integrate all the party together, and then we're going to start with Frozen Fortress. Now, not Frozen, Floating Fortress. Floating Fortress is going to be a little bit different from other campaigns, just a smidge different. We're going to start the campaign off with a big event that sort of leads to an impetus to adventure and explains why our characters are doing all of these things. And so it's going to be really important to learn what our characters were like before this big event happens. That way we have like some idea of who they are as a person before, trauma ensues, essentially. Not real trauma, it's mild trauma. And so today we have MrMouton, Lucas, one of our favorite players here, who is going to be making his character. Are you ready, Lucas?
I'm ready. I don't know anything really about my character or anything like that, so we're all going to find it out here today, live.
All right. So, your character is... Let me tell you what's going on. If you look at the map, you can see that this is a rough concept map of, we're gonna flesh it out as before the campaign starts, of this island. And it's a big island, and in the middle of the island
circular.
is... Yeah, it won't be eventually, but for now, just a placeholder. In the center of the island is a lake. It's a weird lake because the lake doesn't have like anything that flows into it. Instead of things flowing into the lake, water flows out of the lake. In 4 different directions. Now, if you know anything about rivers and lakes, it's very weird to have a lake with multiple exit flows. It's possible, it happens, but it's super unusual. 4 exit flows from a lake is super, super weird. So there's already some strange things going on here. We're going to be starting our campaign as a tiny little village on one of the islands in the middle of this lake, which is on this bigger, weird island, which is in the ocean, sort of between the 2 last campaigns, between where Tides of Death were and between where Outcast was, lies this island right in the middle. And this island on this lake, on this island in the ocean, is a special, special place. I'm gonna read a big blob of text to you. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, this island was the site of the greatest fortress in all the world, the mighty, floating fortress of the Farron Empire. Legend has it that the great Archmage himself built this fortress and used it to define the breadth and reach of his control. When finally satisfied with the extent of his domain, Varys parked his fortress until the need for it arose once again. Your village of Aknara was established by decree of the Great Wizard to guard the entrance to this great fortress, and has done so for 3 millennia. In that time, much has happened, and much has been lost. The secrets of the fortress were handed down from commander to commander in an oral tradition designed to prevent the theft of the fortress's secrets and the misuse of the fortress. Long after the great mage vanished and his empire crumbled, Aknara kept its secrets, guarded the mighty keep, and ritually passed down this eternal responsibility through the generations. At the start of the Last Age, when the skies erupted and the seas invaded the lands, the last great commander was swept out into the lake and never seen from again. The line of secrets was broken, and the lands beyond the lake were sown with salt, famine, war, and strife as it erupted across Ferodia, this island, the big island. Aknara was not spared this difficult time, yet the responsibilities to the world were not forgotten. Centuries came and went. Commanders turned into overseers, kings became mayors, valorants became wardens, and archmages became armators. The ruins of the fortress on Aknara stud the land and remind the peaceful villagers of a time long ago when this small island was the center of all power in the world. These days, the roles and positions are still held in esteem, but it has been 1,000 years since any significant event has occurred. Wizards, clerics, and adventurers adventure seekers still come to Aknara in hopes of unlocking secrets of the past. An attitude of welcome but watch has helped curtail these would-be power seekers. When the bannerless army arrived at the start of what would become known as the Veil War, a cleric with an escort of ogres and giants arrived to conquer the island and retake the mighty fortress. After a day of looking around and finding nothing, they left, never to be seen from again. There was much ado about the Veil War on the rest of Ferodia, but Aknara was left in peace. Whereas once the role of the fortress and defenders of Aknara was to protect the floating fortress of Ferris so that it would only be used by the great Archmage, now the role of the defenders is to make sure the secrets of the past stay buried by those who would bring harm to this world. So, that's where we're starting off. You are one of the villagers on this island. You are not just a regular old villager, you are one of the defenders. The Wardens is the current term for your position here. Your job is to work with the Overseer, who's going to be PotatoMcWhiskey, and keep an eye on the lands. Keep an eye out for ancient relics, ancient stories, anything that might lead to information about the long-lost floating fortress of Ferris, that is the island that you live on. And just to kind of make sure no interlopers come and try to steal anything. You're sort of defenders, but it's really just a part-time job now. It's more of like a ceremonial role that you fulfill, and once a week or once a month you go out with the other wardens and the overseer and walk the lands and make sure that there's nothing sketchy going on. And if anyone spots anything or sees anything weird, you go and uncover it and try and figure out if it's part of the great ancient floating fortress or if it's just a cool rock that someone found on the beach.
And there's been nothing like found for hundreds or thousands of years, right?
Right.
So everybody kind of just
go ahead.
I was gonna say everybody kind of just thinks of this as like, it's kind of like a joke role that you hear like your dad's dad did, and at this point, like, I might even not even believe that this fortress existed. Is that like a sentiment that people believe or no?
That is a very valid takeaway. I think different people in the village are going to have different connections to these sorts of things. I want you to think about it like, people think about religious stories. Like, you might have someone who believes in the literal word of a holy text, or you might have someone who's like, look, these are some really great stories that are helping me guide my principles, and other people who are like, it's all a bunch of bullshit meant to control you by the man. Like, you've got a wide range. So if you think that these are maybe legends that have been passed down and don't really hold much water, that's fine. If you think that, like, this is a super serious role that you need to take super seriously, that's fine. Like, whatever your interpretations are is legit.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about for my character. Can you tell me the class?
You're going to start off today as an unclassed character. You're going to roll a d8 for HP. You're going to have 4 non-weapon proficiencies, 2 weapon proficiencies. You're like a part-time warden. When the campaign starts, you will be given a class, but I don't want to tell you what it is until we get there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like the direction that I want to play. Do I want to play someone who, kind of just doesn't like really believe in all this stuff, or someone like who's pretty devout about it? So let me ask one more question. What does my warden, how does he feel? Do I know how he feels? Do I know if he's like kind of like slacking off about the task, or do I know if he's like pretty staunch with it?
The village has maintained this set of rituals for a long time, so whether you believe the legends is one way or the other, but as a warden, you are actively participating in the system.
Okay.
So you are, you take your job seriously because the village takes these positions seriously, but you could be that priest who's lost his faith and now it's just a job, but you take your job seriously, or you could be that priest who is actively trying to convert people.
I'll think about it.
Yeah. So today we're going to roll some stats for you. We're going to roll some hit points for you. We're going to figure out what you do when you're not a warden. What is your job? Are you like a farmer? Are you a herder? Are you a fisherman? Do you cut down trees? Do you Are you a potter or a carpenter or a smith? Smith is probably like the most advanced position in the whole village. If it probably has one smithing family. Maybe you are a priest, not a cleric, but like a priest who's religiously involved. You can kind of pick any old job as long as it's not too high tech, because you are a small village on an island and a lake on an island. And the village is more or less self-sufficient with just a little bit of imports.
Are we rolling first, or am I picking what I am?
How do you want to make your character today? I'm down for anything.
I've always wanted to make a smith, but I'm always worried that it's not going to be like a kind of like smith-centric campaign where I'm going to be able to sit there for a few months and like actually make a cool fucking thing.
Yeah, that definitely won't happen.
Okay. Then
you can be a smith, but it'll be like, by the time the campaign starts, you will retire as a smith.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a smith.
Cool. All right. So
I've been like a blacksmith's like apprentice, so maybe like never like that's my whole fucking job. I'm like an 80-year-old man, but I was working towards it.
Yeah. That would probably mean your family, your mother or father or both, are smiths as well.
That's our last name, of course.
Great. Now, the other thing is that we got to pick you a race. You can be a human or you can be a half-elf. If you're a half-elf, half-elves are sterile, so you came here from somewhere else and settled here, and then maybe they're not your parents, but you started working with, the smiths who didn't have any children and are going to take over their roles when they die.
My family have been working here for generations, okay? They go back through the long lines of being smiths in this town. They used to make the armor, so I'm a human, thank God.
Okay. Family has been here for generations. Okay, so if your family's been here for a long time, then the legends that your family are going to pass down is that your great grandmother, way back when, 3,000 years ago, was a Valorant. This is a role for brave knights, warriors, clerics, or wizards who had proven their mettle and wished to enter their next phase of life back when the Farron Empire was great. They would have been, some fantastic leading hero who earned a good retirement. The position of Valorant was a recognition of honor so that these great people might serve out their days in an important role within the Empire that still gave them room to raise families and enjoy their golden years. When the Farron Empire fell, the title of Valorant sort of lost its meaning as the position became inherited through the generations. Eventually, the term Defender became the preferred term until the skies erupted and the seas invaded the lands. Since there was nothing to defend after that, the term Warden took over. So one of your ancestors was this, great warrior of the Farron Empire a long, long time ago.
The same thing as one of the people who got swept, or as like the last person who got swept away?
No, that would have been the commander or overseer. So you would have been like the knight, and they would have been like the general.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now, 3,000 years later, 3 millennia later, all that nobility has fallen by the wayside. Now you're just a regular old person.
We're just a town.
Yeah, you're just a small village who doesn't have a lot of contact with the outside world and is mostly self-sufficient and likes to kind of keep to itself because you've got this legend of like secret powers and mysteries that you're supposed to like hide from the rest of the world. So there's an intentional sort of seclusion, but like not trying to avoid the Barbra Streisand effect as well.
Got it.
You're, if you know the Streisand effect,
So we're trying to like kind of hide like who we are and not like let it be known like, hey, we're fucking guarding this massive thing, everybody.
Well, the rest of the island
the traditions kind of
also sort of knows, right? Like,
yeah.
Just as you know that there was a floating fortress here, so does the rest of the people on the bigger island around the lake.
But if like an
every
adventure
now and then
came, we're not going to just be like, oh, welcome to the floating fortress island. Like, please, we're selling merch. We're not doing that.
Maybe you might do like a little bit of like, oh yeah, totally, Area 51. There's aliens, everybody.
Okay,
like you might kind of like yuck it up as a joke, or you might be like, oh, those old legends. Sure, if you believe them, like what? I bet there's like a mixture of personalities that deal with that. But the general idea is like, go ahead and let people look around because no one's found anything. But also like keep an eye on them because just in case they find something, we want to know.
We need to know. Okay.
Yeah. Great. I think it's time to roll stats then.
Okay.
So we're going to roll stats according to method 2 of the player's handbook. And this is a situation where you roll 3d6 twice, and then you take whichever one of those you want and apply it to your strength. And then you roll 3d6
we're
twice.
going down the line.
And then you apply it to your
But we're picking.
blah, 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 blah. Right.
Okay.
And if there, I will need some specific things for your characters, but I don't want to tell you what it is now. So I might tell you to just throw those stats away, and you're just going to have to trust me.
Cool. Ready?
Ready.
Here
Let's do
is
the
for
strength roll.
quote-unquote strength. 13.
Okay.
All right. And we're telling people we got rid of perception for this.
Yes, we're not using perception.
No perception. All right. Dex?
Yep.
Okay.
12. All right.
Take 12. Now we're going con. 13 and a 12.
All
Take
right.
13.
Not bad.
Now we're going intelligence. 13 and 8.
Lots of 13s. You are a very above average person.
Going wisdom. 13. And I'll take a 13, I guess.
4 13s and a 12. And last
And
stat
charisma.
is a charisma.
A 12 and a 14. Take 14. That's okay.
Wow.
Okay, he's not the greatest character, the mightiest, but he has better stats than any of the people from Tomb Scoria, so he's
You
a
were significantly above average
jack of all
in
trades.
every stat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Excellent.
Almost 13 down the line, actually. If I got rid of the 14 and the 12, it'd be all 13s.
Yeah. Interesting. Your character stats meet all of my requirements. It's a little monotonous.
Okay. You
There's
want to make it
nothing
more
wrong with playing a character that's all 13s.
The way I think about it, we can give him a high one, we can give him a low one too. But for this, I'd kind of think about it like he's not bad at anything, but he doesn't like excel. But he's like pretty decent at everything.
You're very decent at everything.
He's
We're
like
gonna
good at
keep
everything.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. If all of our players roll stats like this, we might have to adjust
Come back.
some of the later rolls, but we'll keep you here. You might end up with the best set of stats in the game by just amazing averages. Excellent. So you are a human. Your job is warden, but you're also a smith. So let's work on your non-weapon proficiencies. You're going to get 4 plus 3 for languages. You're definitely going to need smithing. So you're going to need blacksmithing, which is 1 slot and takes strength. I don't think you would do armor or weapon smithing in this small village. Like, there's just not...
No need, yeah.
Yeah, there's not enough call for those things to specialize in that. Now, normally, someone who is a dedicated smith wouldn't just have 1 proficiency. They'd put multiple proficiency slots into that thing. Why don't you take a look around and see if there's anything else you want? And then you can... If there's not a lot of things that make sense for your character, we can probably dump a few more points into smithing. For our purposes, since you're a warden, it's like a ceremonial and religious role. So we're going to use the priest category for what things that you might know how to do, because you have a little bit more training, a little bit more ceremonial usage, a little bit more education than other people might.
Is my family very religious?
There's a priest and priestess in town. who help people, guide people through these things. And as a culture soaked in tradition, I think everyone has a small shrine to their favorite god in their home. So I would say they are, but not like self-flagellating in the streets, but like devoutly, privately. The gods definitely do shape the world around us.
Can I do ancient history? My idea behind that is we're literally here tasked with defending super ancient, long history. So I might even take, I don't know, I'm a smith. What do you think? Ancient languages kind of works, or
definitely not ancient
religion?
Languages. You could do religion if you wanted to know a bunch about the gods. That's totally perfect for you. Ancient history would be great, and
I'm
your
gonna do ancient history for sure.
Would be of probably this island, Aknara, and the greater island all around it. Yeah. Ferodia is the big island.
Are Smiths literate? Do I need literacy?
You, as a warden, you would definitely have had access to education, and as a smith, you're one of the more well-trained, important roles in town. So I think
I'm taking it.
You would probably have literacy. Yeah.
And literacy is like NA, like it doesn't matter.
Right. You just read. There's no skills.
So that's what, 3 that I've taken?
Yes.
Let me see. Ancient history.
Yep. Ancient history, literacy.
That's 1. Literacy's 1. What's blacksmithing?
1.
Okay, so I'm at 3, and then I have another.
You have another 4.
4?
Yeah.
Question where. Now I always take this, so you can choose. Swimming, where a lakeside village, is swimming a big thing here, or is it not?
You can definitely know how to swim. There's people that have to do fishing, and some people have boats, some people have nets, some people wade into the water with spears. Swimming's totally legit in this situation. Swimming. Perfect.
Is direction sense a thing still? I'm not thinking of taking it, but it's perception based, so.
Then it would fall to whatever the default stat was, which I think was wisdom. But it's a small island.
I'm gonna skip that one.
So there's not any real use for direction sense. Like there's some cliffs and mountains, like large rises here that always ground you. So you always like, hey, there's the large mountain, and I can tell by its shape which side of the island I'm on. So there's no need for direction sense.
Can I get some other languages here? My thought behind that is, well, I guess it's a question. Are people coming here? Sounds like it's a kind of a hot spot. Are people coming here and trying to trade and do like stuff with the Smiths? So
no,
if elves are
much.
Okay.
There are a bunch of elves on the larger island around you, but also there's been this long war going on where the bannerless army, now the army of Rossi, has sort of like quarantined the elves and has been sieging their woods, and there's all this, nonsense going on. The island that you're on, Aknara, the village is also the same name, is kind of quiet and out of the way, and you get the stray adventurer every couple of years who comes through trying to dig up the fortress, but it's actually pretty rare to have that happen. There are half-elves that do come through the area from time to time and do settle here. The role of Armator, which is like the new version of the ancient Archmage role, who's like a counselor, an advisor, wise man, and diviner, is a half-elf, a 240-year-old female half-elf named, Kesia. So it's possible that you could have picked up Elven if you had made a intentional effort to talk with the half-elves and learn the Elven language.
I think so.
But, it would just be for curiosity's sake.
Okay. The other thing, folklore.
Totally.
I'll take that. Intelligence-based. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm at 5 now. Mm-hmm. And I have 2 more?
You have 2 more. And if you want, you can dump them into blacksmithing to make you a better blacksmith, or if you wanted to be, 13
I think most of his goal is blacksmithing, so I'll take an extra 2.
Okay. So that'll boost your blacksmithing to... it'll give you another
13?
2. Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Blacksmithing should have a modifier of 0 on it.
Oh, you're
There
right.
you go. Yeah.
Then I'll be at 15.
Perfect.
Which makes me an exceptional blacksmith.
Yeah. How old are you?
I always like young characters because I like the idea of like actually being able to play the character for like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
25. No,
All right.
27.
27. Perfect. Folklore, just double checking your proficiencies here. Folklore is at a -1.
Oh yeah, I forgot to do that.
That's great. And your name, you said Cedric is your
Cedric
name.
Smith.
Cedric Smith.
No real last name. The last name is his job. So
Right. This is differentiate you from the other Cedric.
exactly.
Who's the
I'm
gardener.
the smithing one.
Right.
Yeah, that's Cedric Gardner.
Right-handed, left-handed, ambidextrous. You want to roll
I like
for
to
it?
roll just in
D10.
case.
10 is good. Anything else is fine.
9. Left-handed, right?
Left-handed. How unusual. Ooh. And you're male. I'm assuming you're 0th level. You
I like to
speak
roll for my height.
tongue.
How do I do that?
Let me open the player's handbook right here for you. According to the 2nd edition player's handbook, humans will roll height. Human. It is 60 inches plus 2d10, so 5 feet plus 2d10 inches.
17.
Oh, that's
The big boy.
6'5".
Right.
That's huge.
I'm up.
And then your weight is normally 1d40 plus 6d10, but you know if you roll really low on your weight,
1d40
kind of silly.
plus 60-10? Or
140 plus 6 10-sided dice.
Okay. 140 plus 6 10-sided dice. Let's roll 1d6. No, 60-10?
Yeah,
187?
187 at 6'5". That's you know, interesting height weight dynamics. I don't know if you want to lower your height or up your weight or just be like really tall and really skinny, but that's the rules the player's handbook has given us.
Let's go. It'll be 200 flat.
All right.
I don't want him to be super skinny because that pigeon was incredibly skinny on rolls and very tall. Oh yeah, I had the wrong size medium.
That's all right. Yep.
Alrighty.
Excellent.
HP.
HP. Now, you only have 13 con, but you're a warden. So I'm going to require a minimum of half HP rounded up. So essentially 5 to 8. So you can roll me a d4 plus 4 for HP. Because wardens need, and a smith would definitely need some amount of
7
hit points. Excellent. Great. Let's give you 7 HP over here. And we're also going to need a weapon, 2 weapon proficiencies. As a warden, you know how to use these things. You're from a long line of defenders. You have to be able to defend the town. And as a smith, you know how to use hammers. So if you want to pick like warhammer or club or a bashing tool, that would make a lot of sense. And then you could pick a second thing like a spear or I don't know, any other melee weapon you want, or a half proficiency in bow.
What's a cool trying to think of what like a really cool like bashing weapon is. Maybe
Clubs,
just like
warhammers, great clubs would be two-handed weapon. Quarterstaff is surprisingly good. It's d4 plus 1, so your minimum damage is 2, so you can never like only do 1 damage. It's also a 2-handed weapon, but
I like
it
the
also
idea of
looks
like
like a
a
walking stick.
great club. So like a big two-handed, either club or hammer, whatever that is.
Yeah. Let's take a look at your rural village here. Club.
Yes, is there a
Great
mace?
club. Yeah, there's a mace.
Oh, I'll take a mace. Maces are cool.
Okay, maces. There's two versions of maces. There's the footman's mace, which is bigger and heavier and does more damage, but it weighs like 10 pounds. And then there's the horseman's mace, which is a little bit smaller and is only does less damage, but only weighs 6 pounds. It's a D6 plus 1 versus D6.
Which one do you think fits the setting more?
Footman's mace, because you're definitely more not on horseback.
Let's do that.
Yeah. A great club weighs 15 pounds for the record and does 2d4 damage, in case you were interested. It's the same average damage as D6 plus 1. Yeah.
I just think a mace is a cooler weapon than like a great club, so I'll do a mace.
Yeah. A great club also needs 2 hands to wield because it's a size large weapon, so
Sweet.
Mace is perfect. It weighs 10 pounds. It's medium sized. Its speed is 7. It's bludgeoning. It does D6 plus 1 damage.
D6 plus
and
1.
Another. Yeah.
Speed is 7, you said? Sorry.
7. Yeah. Cool. And another weapon for you. What else would you have learned?
Short sword, dagger.
Those are great. Short sword, dagger, they're nice sidearms. Spear is a nice formation weapon. Javelin is a bit of a range thing. Dagger's also a range thing, potentially. Hand axe.
Short sword.
Short sword? Nice.
I think you got me with the hand axe, actually, because you can throw those too, right?
Yeah, you can.
I'll do a hand axe, yeah. Mace, hand axe.
Yep.
Sweet.
Great. And on your table, the hand axe does D6 damage. It is a slashing type. It has speed 4. And it has slightly better range than dagger, actually. Really?
Hand axes are sweet.
No, same range as a dagger.
They do more damage than a dagger.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little slower.
Yep. The range is 10, 20, 30 yards. So no penalties to hit up to 10 yards, -2 at 20 yards, -5 at 30 yards. But having thrown a hand axe many times, the idea that you could throw this 30 yards even at a -5 to hit is ridiculous. But them's the rules, so we're sticking to them.
That's right. Those crackheads in the 80s knew what they were doing.
They
Sorry,
really
meth
did.
heads.
Yeah. Armor. Now, you've never really needed your armor, but there's call for ceremonial Warden armor. I think it's probably a breastplate, and these are like ancient breastplates that have been handed down through the ages that your family has been in charge of, maintaining as they crack or break, and then you try to fix them. And I think the number of viable breastplates has gone down over the years, but there's still a few remaining. Let me pull up my PC table.
So my dad's probably like an armor smith.
Well, armor would be nice, but yes, he does smith armor, but
he's not
this
like
is the only
specifically,
specialization. Yeah, these are the only things. So the AC from this is 5.
Okay.
We're gonna add these things to your gear tab as well because, well, you've got decent strength. but it might be bring you to encumbrance. So I'm just going to start filling out your tables for you. Clothes weigh about 5 pounds all told. Your mace weighs, did we say 7? No, it was 10.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
7 was the speed.
Yeah. Breastplate. Oh, and hand axe. Right, and your breastplate weighs
35?
30 pounds.
So close.
Axe was 5. Right, so with all of this gear and nothing else, you're at light encumbrance, which is fine. That's a movement rate of 8 instead of 12. This is how pretty much anyone who's armored is going to be moving around.
Yep.
And then if you have a backpack, which you may at some point, it'll weigh 1.5 pounds, and then, you know, whatever other supplies you might want to put in there. So let's fill out some of your gear. What sorts of things might Cedric the Smith have on him when he is not at home, but like when you're going on your Warden patrols around the island?
Can I swap the hand axe to a hammer? Just like a regular one, because I feel like he'd probably actually have that instead.
Yeah,
because that's probably going to be something that he carries around, is his hammer that he smiths with and whatnot.
Yeah, perfect.
And that's D4.
I do believe hammer is D4. Weight is 3. Same range.
Speed
4.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, he'll keep his hammer on him. What are some like smithing supplies that you usually have? Like a grinding stone? Or not a grinding stone, like
A whetstone?
A whetstone?
Yeah, but you'd have that like at your
home.
shop. You probably wouldn't carry it with you. You probably wouldn't carry any of your smithing supplies when you're walking around.
Water skin?
Definitely. Yep. Water skin weighs 3 pounds, including the water. The island can be patrolled in a single day, so you might like bring some snacks with you, but you wouldn't need multiple days of rations at any given time. Yeah, you could just travel real light with your buds. I don't know if you've
he
got...
probably just travels light, and then if we really need shit, he'll pick it up from either home or camp. Yeah.
Great. Let's talk about your character's religiosity.
How are my family? Are they pretty religious? Are they pretty, like, you know, we go to church on Sundays, or is it we go to church on Sundays?
Well, if you're asking me to assign your family a
don't mind
faith
it.
background, I would say that your family is quietly religious, with some superstitions that bleed out into the real world, the daily world, like, you know, the sort of thing where you spill the salt shaker and you gotta like throw a little bit of salt over your shoulder, or when you slip and fall into a mud puddle, you like curse Jexel or Malchus's name because like clearly he's the one who caused you to do this. So that sort of casual, everyday level of religiousness. Yeah, the really big things that happen in your life, you'll probably take some time to thank the gods for the good things that have happened to you. But like,
I'll be pretty religious then, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go and preach to everybody like the good word of fucking Martha every day. But like, if something nice happens, like if Cedric goes on like a nice date, you know, he'll thank Martha or the goddess of beauty,
Cheese.
Cheese, for like bringing them and stuff like that. You know, he'll kind of walk around and like talk to the gods in his head, like pretty frequently, actually.
Yeah, that's real nice. Excellent. Speaking of relationships, what is Cedric's personal life like? Is he focusing on his career? Is he dating? Is he failing to date? Is he a serial monogamist?
Cedric's had
philanderer?
A good life. He's kind of just been good at like anything he's put his mind to. He's had it easy. He's excelled, and I would say like the girls come, and he has good times with them, but he's too religious to like actually like do anything. Because probably in his family, like you're supposed to get married and like settle down. So he's looking for like the right girl to get married to settle down, to have some Smith kids with. Girls throw them, well, hotness roll.
Oh, yeah.
3d6.
3d6.
An 8. So, you know, his personality for sure carries it. But yeah, I'd say like people are pretty interested in him. He's not an ugly guy, but he's not the most good-looking man you've ever seen.
But since you're 6'5", you'd literally stand out in every crowd, and you come from the family who has one of the most important jobs,
exactly.
Smith. So you have
and I'm
status,
charismatic.
You have height, you have charisma. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I get the impression that you, like, it's a small village. You've probably dated just about all the people that are within your age range in the area, but none of them have quite fit for you yet.
Yeah, I think he very much feels like maybe the girl for me isn't here.
Okay. So, in this situation...
How is his parents' marriage?
His parents' marriage? What a great question.
Thank you.
On the outside, things are usually pretty good. But within the household, there is some very heavy chafing. Like, your parents following traditions. They were suggested to each other. They got married together. Their early days were pretty like, ooh, let's figure out what's going on. They got married when they were young. They had you when they were youngish. But now that they're solidly in there, you said you're 23. They probably had
20,
you at 20. So they're now solidly in their 40s, approaching their 50s. And like realize that life is long and that this person that they've settled down with doesn't actually match their disposition. They don't dislike each other. Yeah. But like...
Cedric sees that there isn't true love in this family, and that's probably kind of a reason that he's not wanting to go the route of, let me just get married to someone in the village. I see how unhappy my mom or my dad is at times, and I don't want to be caught up in that rigmarole, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think they probably have very different things that they like to do. I think there's probably, even though you're Smiths and you have, you know, a good income, they want to spend money on different things. And since you're Smiths, you can have like an extra amount of money that you can spend on other things, but then that means there's not much for savings.
Is my mom or dad cheaters? Have I learned that? Have I ever found it out?
Your mom is definitely not. Okay. Your dad is probably not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it may have came into his mind of like, I wonder if dad like goes to the local pub and like sees Judy or whatever. But like, there's nothing in his mind. He's probably like, no, you know.
It's a small village. There's not a lot of other things going around. So your dad has some close friends that are men and some close friends that are women. And, you know, he does spend a lot of time hanging out with some of these other women in the village. But no one's ever really suspected that, like, they're having an affair. But it's clear that he's closer friends with these other women than he is with your mom.
I just think dad's kind of a, you know, he likes hanging out with ladies more than he does guys. And it probably hasn't popped into my mind that, like, oh my God, he's like cheating on my mom. He's just like, these people don't really love each other. I'm looking for something more. Right. Hopefully the gods will bring it to me. Right.
I think your dad has fallen into this job as Smith by birth and marriage. And so it turns out his actual interest, his hobbies are gardening. And so he spends a lot of time with other Cedric's mom, who's a gardener, and like they do flowers together, and like that's her profession. But he likes to come and help out, and he's always like building tools in the shop to like help out the gardeners, and like they're his tools, so he can garden. But like she keeps them and uses them all the time
at the community garden, of course.
Right. That's what we call Cedric's mom, the community garden.
Exactly. Okay. Cool. I think that helped me get some insight into my character.
Yeah, let me figure what is your mom's hobbies here, because your dad likes gardening. Your mom, let's see which one of your parents inherited the Smith line and which one married into it. Your dad's father, or your dad's side of the family, was the Smith. Your mom married into the Smith family. So dad was from Smith family. Mom married in. Dad's hobbies are gardening with other Cedric's mom. Other Cedric's mom's name is not Stacy this time. We're not doing that meme.
Macy.
Her name is gonna be Mary. Just a nice little. Her name's Mary. Your mom's. She married into the smithing family, and I think...
Did she marry up or marry down?
Oh, it's definitely up. Yeah. In terms of the social
We're near
class here, you guys are very near the top. There's no real nobles. There's like a mayor and the mayor's family, and they're kind of like the noble family, but there's not much to mayor around here. Their jobs are to do diplomacy and other stuff, and so they do a little bit of tax collecting and distribution, but they also have to supplement their income with other things that they do. So they
Are we a bartering economy here?
No, there's coins. Yeah, and you will have people who go on the lake into other towns to actually do some inner city commerce trading. Like people will barter, but there are coins. And I think the mayor's job is, by nature of being the diplomatic provider. Let me give you actually a little bit more context here. The job of the mayor used to be the king. He's the leader of the village and protector of the lands. Responsibilities include maintaining diplomatic relationships and intelligence gathering to prevent an invading force from attempting to seize the fortress. At least that's what the king used to do. But no longer. Like after the skies erupted and the seas invaded the lands, contact and cohesion with the rest of Ferodia disintegrated. And so like the king, who was way over in Justar's... what's it called? Justar's Bay, we lost contact with him. And so a new king was appointed here in the village, who then eventually became the mayor. So the mayor is also a trader, and they would also be near the top of the food chain.
Is mayor, is it passed down through your family as well?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So it's very close to, it's essentially a noble position, but you don't have enough tax income to live off of, so you have to have a day job. And your mayor's name is Bromit. He's young. He's 32 years old. He's just recently inherited this position. And with that inherited mayor situation comes a little bit of arrogance. He's not a total asshole, but he's kind of full of himself.
Bit of a douchebag. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's best to get this out of the way right now. He is his favorite deity is Varasi.
Ugh.
But I want to specify here that not all Varasi worshippers are the same. Imagine imagine a good Christian who fights the KKK, or a good Muslim who fights ISIS, right? Because those are religious organizations that have been tuned for evil. So this guy, he's a follower of the goddess of death, but in the sense of my job as mayor is to protect this thing, but this job doesn't really need to exist anymore. It has come to an end, and so I'm embracing the ends of times, the end of my role, the end of our position here. And it's not so much yay, bring death to everybody, but it's more of an embrace of that liminal space where one thing becomes another, but you're still kind of holding on to it.
So he might look at the people across the fucking pond and just be like, those guys are fucking nuts, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
He's not interested in the Varasi Empire in any way, shape, or form. They're clearly maligning the deity's name by doing all this bullshit. Fuck them to hell. But the goddess of death is actually a really interesting character, and
cool.
I'm gonna figure. I think your mom. Let me make this interest roll. Oh yeah. So your mom married into the smithing family and really loves smithing. That's actually her jam.
That's her special interest.
Unfortunately, she was laden with you know, a lot of responsibilities. Your dad was handed the reins to the family business, but she's the one who like actually cares and makes it happen and manages the business. And your dad is off like, well, let me just plant some tulips today. And your mom's like, Cedric Sr., you've got 500 nails to make before you can go play over there with that slut Mary. You know, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Okay.
Excellent. Let's talk about siblings. Do you have any?
No. It's just me.
Okay. All right. Playfield, town. No siblings.
Which makes my parents pissed off because they're like, Mom's like, you need to continue the Smith line. We're the only fucking Smiths here. And I'm like,
right.
None of these girls are who I want to marry.
Right. Right. And with your parents' different spending habits, like there's not a lot being saved. And so if you don't make money, one day they won't be able to make money smithing and they'll be in like fiscal trouble. You don't want to die old and poor. Excellent. All right. Well, why don't we take our first break right here? And when we come back on the other side, we'll do a little bit of, you know, we'll do some minor adventure to kind of get a feel for who Cedric is. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Floating Fortress. So, MrMouton, Cedric Smith, we're going to talk about how and why you became a warden. Now, the how is the why is mostly there. Your father's family was the smithing family. Your mother comes from a long line of wardens, but she herself was not fit for the role. I think she lacked, you probably need like a certain amount of strength, dex, and con. And she didn't have enough of one or more of these stats. So it wasn't fit for her, but she passed the role on to you. You inherited it from her father. When he, you know, got to the retirement age, he like passed it on to his grandson, which is you. So the question here is how did that go when you're growing up and your mom tells you from an early age that, you know, in addition to being a smith, you're also going to be a warden. You're going to have two really important responsibilities that manage the future of this town. How does that sit with Cedric from an early age?
How much does the warden position pay?
Not at all.
Oh, wow. It's just volunteer responsibility that I have.
Yeah. But it's a position of honor. You don't get paid, but like it's you're being chosen to do this great deed.
Is my name, you know, kind of like in Game of Thrones, how there's like that big book where everybody like writes in it who is like the previous Knight's Guard? Is there like one of those big
King's
books
Guard
that everybody like writes their fucking warden name in at least?
No, not even.
Not even like a...
No, so in the early days when Ferris first settled his fortress here and created this, originally there was like a fort, like an actual castle on this island to defend the hidden floating fortress. The way that he was going to keep everything secret was he was just going to have everyone pass the stories and the secrets down from person to person to person, and that way there would be no document that could be stolen, nothing that could be like pilfered or gotten. And it worked for hundreds of years. In fact, it worked for, you know, more than a millennia and a half until the last warden was swept out to sea. And for a long time it made sense because like he was just going to come back and use this fortress at some point. This was never intended to be a 3,000 year run, but that was the tradition that got started way back when. And that sort of oral tradition, we're not going to just like leave all of our secrets lying around for someone to, you know, churn into a mouse and come in and grab the paper and run out as a mouse again sort of concept.
Is there still some like feeling among the people, or at least is there like a legend of Ferris is still supposed to come back like someday? Kind of like King Arthur, you know, people are like, oh, like the lady under the lake, blah blah blah. Is that like a prevailing myth or no?
It's a little bit different.
Okay.
Let me get the... So the thing about Ferris, he's this great wizard of ages past, did all these wonderful things, built this floating fortress, had one of the world's first empires, and then he kind of vanished from history. Like, he didn't necessarily die. There's no tale of his story. He he just didn't show up one day. And so the stories around him are like, he never really died. He like got off on some adventure, or maybe one of his spells fucked up and he got teleported into the future, or maybe he got teleported onto another plane of existence, or maybe he did die, or maybe he became a god. Like, there's all these rumors about what could have happened to this guy. And so the idea that like he could come back isn't out of the story, but it's usually a lot more focused on like, you know, he's off doing something, or his thing was interrupted, or he's in stasis somewhere, and yeah, it's not focused on his return, but it's focused on what did happen to this dude.
Okay. How do I feel about having to do smith work and be a warden? How did my mom explain the warden job to me? Did she come to me and was like, this is a really important job that like your grandfather did?
Well, as a kid, you grew up seeing your grandfather as a warden with the same breastplate that you wear, and your grandfather had a spear and he had a shield, and he, you know, his day job was something different. He wasn't a smith, but you were always seeing him. You would come to like the ceremonies that you'd have once a month on the full moon when everyone gets together, and not everyone, but you know, there's like a little party in the middle of town to like, yay, celebrate. We've kept the town safe for another, actually not month, but every year you've got like a little celebration of like, we've protected the fortress again for another year. Good job, everybody. And all the wardens get to march together, and you know, the mayor says a few words, and the armator says a few words, and then all the wardens get to like take a knee and get kind of blessed with a little bit of sacred bushes. And you know, it was a part of daily life, or these ceremonies were more yearly or seasonally, but him being a warden was just a thing you grew up with. And from a young age, you were always told like, one day you're going to inherit your grandfather's armor, and one day you're going to inherit your grandfather's spear. You didn't take the spear. You took hammers and maces instead. So it was much more of like a, this is going to be your fate. You are
then I think
by birth
that
for this.
I ultimately probably want to be more my mom's child than my father's. And for me, this probably like, it skipped a generation. My mom could never get it anyways because she would have been too old or whatever. So yeah, I think I probably am going to go with the Cedric looks on this task as one, like, very important. Like, my grandfather took it like very seriously, so I'm going to continue to take it very seriously. And the smith stuff is like what I'm going to do to like make a living, but like I'm going to be here like the people before me, you know, running shit.
Got it. Okay, I just rolled your mom's stats for clarity here. Excellent.
I'm gonna roll your mom.
Those are your dad's stats. They're not great. Low int, low wisdom, moderate charisma.
Not a smart man.
Not a smart man. No. Okay. Right, so you take your job as warden pretty seriously. And your smithing job is sort of the thing that you do to make ends meet, but this position is important to you. Perfect.
Yep.
So, if that's the case, what would you like to know before we hop into a little adventure? What would you like to know about the lore of the area and the job of warden?
One thing is, can I instead of taking 2 in blacksmithing, can I take 1? Because I'm taking it less seriously now, and I want to do 1 in religion.
Totally.
I think this character is a bit more religious than I had initially anticipated. And what do I want to know?
You've still put 2 slots into blacksmithing now, so if you wanted to take 1 out and just have 1 slot in blacksmithing, you do have another proficiency to move, if you desire.
Any other good ideas on... I'll just put the other slot into religion.
Okay.
There we go. So
Nice.
two slots in the religion because I take it very seriously. And I think my character is a bit more religious than like the average guy, you know, in as I said before, very much in my mind and in his head is he's talking to the deities. They're not responding, but like something nice, something good happens, he's like, "Oh, thanks Martha. Thanks Jexel for not making me lose this gambling, blah blah blah."
Right.
What was your question again?
What things might you want to know about wardens before we hop into a little bit of role playing?
I guess,
Or-
how did the position, you kind of explained this a little bit, but how did the warden position initially come to be? It used to be the knights?
Yeah. So long time ago, 3 millennia ago, when the Archmage Farron made a floating fortress and used it to create his empire, he would park it places from time to time. And he parked it here. And he had parked it here with the intention of like, we're not going to use it for a while, so I'm also going to build a castle. I'm going to build some defenders. I'm going to take.
Well, I got
some
a question. Was there is there something passed down that there was a reason that he parked it here specifically? Can I give you like an ancient history check?
You don't need to make the check right now because this is one of those things that we will get to in our campaign. There was a reason. Ferris never did anything casually.
It wasn't he just saw this area and was like, fuck it, like let's just park here.
Right.
You
No,
know,
there's
a reason.
definitely a rhyme and reason and a purpose for this fortress being here. But you don't know what it is. That's one of those things that's been lost in the last 3,000 years. And yeah, everyone's got a fucking idea. As an ancient historian, you would know that everyone has a fucking idea, but there's no truth
no
that's been discovered
consensus
yet. Yeah. Also, before we get too far, a great point is that you're on an island that's like 3 miles across. It's like 20 miles around. But no one really knows where the fortress is. Like, is it the whole 3 mile wide island? Is it like the island has a cliff, a mountain on it? It's a mountain like English people say that they have mountains, while the rest of the world's like, bro, those are hills.
Yeah.
So it's really just like, it's a big hill that has some steep cliffs on it that dominates like the middle of the island, and then it's kind of soft and gentle around. There's some trees and some sand and some grasslands or whatever. It's just a small little island, but it's 3 miles across. So if this entire island is the floating fortress,
massive.
it's massive. So maybe it's the whole island. Maybe it's just that hill is actually a fortress. Maybe the hill was placed, the mountain we're going to call it, was placed on top of the fortress to hide it.
Yeah.
Like, no one really knows. Maybe the fortress is actually in the lake nearby, and this is just the nearest location so that you can watch it. So the exact nature...
Do the other little islands around us have like histories or like reasons of being around the Ferris Empire, or is it very specifically like Ankara was created for this reason and the other ones just exist?
Aknara was definitely created for this purpose. The other islands are now populated, but that was more of just like people needed places to live and someone set up a village there. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think you were asking me a question and I got sidetracked. What?
The initial question was, which I think you've kind of answered already. The Wardens were originally Ferris's knights?
Yeah, they were knights or wizards or clerics. They were like the great actors and warriors and defenders of the kingdom who like deserved a place to rest and like live out their golden years.
King then.
Yeah, he was the king, the emperor, the archmage. This is back at the the beginning of the Age of Might when all this
He's a
went
man
down.
of many titles then, yeah?
Many titles, right? He created the wizard, the towers of high sorcery, like all these mage towers. He built schools of magic. Huge mythical figure of legend. And so the Wardens were initially his great people who deserved retirement, but like they were still important and they needed
There was still
an
like a
important
task
job.
to do, yeah.
Yeah, and so they like, here's a task, guard my fortress, which is a super important job, but like you probably shouldn't actually have to do anything so you can still maintain your families and like have a life, but I need the very best people to watch this fortress while I, go explore the plane of fire or whatever.
What's my grandfather's legend of like who we were and how we became like Ferris's knights. Does he have anything, or does he just like not know it all?
Yeah. So the preface for this is that in the olden days, when populations were smaller and more localized, there was a lot of like intermarriage, you know? And so your grandfather, it's not like he can trace his lineage to this one particular knight, because the people of this island have been mixing around. And so, like, if you really want to get down to it, everyone is probably descendant from an original warden at some point, right? You're probably descendant from all of the original wardens because everyone's been intermarrying and interbreeding. But the title got passed down generationally, and so you kept one of these titles, which has probably been merged with a few others. And so the story has been like, this is our family's legacy, this is our family's honor, this is our family's duty in the world, it's our fate, our destiny. But any tie to a specific hero of past got lost somewhere in the last 3,000 years.
Okay, cool. I think that's all my questions.
Okay.
Oh, which deity do my parents / my grandfather specifically follow? Whoever Grandpa followed. Grandpa Cornelius Smith. No, he wouldn't have been Smith.
No.
Grandpa Cornelius the Warden. Whoever he followed is probably who I will follow the most.
That's a good question. Why don't I click my little handy dandy randomize button? You said his name was Cornelius?
Yeah, why not?
Cornelius Smith. What my history of these deities?
He wouldn't have been Smith.
Right. Cornelius, Warden Cornelius, followed Falumbra, who is the moon goddess. She is also the repository for all the souls. When you die, your soul returns to Falumbra and gets mixed in with all the others. And when new life is created, like the threads are pulled from all those other souls out there and then woven into a new person. She is one of the gods who has like the least number of clerics to her, despite being a super, super important deity. And she hangs out in the sky. She's never come down to the mortal plane before. She doesn't really speak with a voice in the same way that Martha or Astaire or Verasi or Malchus does.
But she's the god that you can look up and like have a somewhat intimate connection, I feel like, with. You know, the sun god, he's going to scorn your eyes if you stare at him. But Falumbra, like, you can truly, at night, bask in her entire beauty. So, yeah. That's who Cedric will follow.
All right. Follower of Falumbra, the moon god. Excellent. Okay. So I imagine the day that you became a warden was a special day. There's always a ceremony, but you were not going into this begrudgingly. You were going into this like gung-ho.
It's my time. Like, did my grandpa pass, or is it he like passes it on? Like, passes the breastplate.
He passes it on. When you get old enough and he's decided also that it's time for him to step down, that's when it happened. And
when did he do it?
Well, I think you're probably
I'm
pretty
23.
new at this. Yeah, you're 23. Your mom is... were you 23 or 27? You're 23. Okay. Your parents had you when they were 20-ish or so. So your mom's like 43. He's probably 43 and 28 is 60, 71.
So he's an old man, kind of, in the village.
Yeah. So he must have passed it on a few years ago. Like, he held on to his
birthday?
title. Probably 70th birthday. Yeah. He held on to it for a good long time. When he hit 70, he's like, that's the right age. That's the time. So you've only been a warden for a year when the campaign starts. So we're going to set our... became a warden at 22 years old. So we're going to set our little adventure here right around the time that you become a warden. You've had your ceremony. You've gone on your little personal retreat where you read ancient texts or have them read to you if you're not. I shouldn't say ancient texts, but like you get the oral tradition from the mayor and from the armateur about like why we're here and the importance of guarding this place. And this floating fortress is so powerful. It's such a tool. It can be used, it's been used to conquer all these lands. There's nothing ever been like it before or since. And if it falls into the wrong hands, terrible, terrible things could happen to the world. We are here to defend the world from this powerful tool being misused by the forces of evil. We can't destroy it. We can't even find it. But someday, someone is going to try and reclaim the floating fortress of Ferris and use it for like dark and malevolent needs. And it's our responsibility to make sure it never falls into the hands of bad people, that only good people use it, or preferably no one uses it at all. And you have your little ceremony, your meeting, you say your prayers. You get brought into the Warden ranks. And a few months later, you're going on one of your patrols. The overseer is sending you off on your first patrol by yourself. And he's sending you off by yourself because somebody else has come. One of these interlopers who comes by from time to time to try and figure out what's going on. It's a wizard who's come here. There we go. A wizard has come here. She is an older woman, maybe in her 50s, and she's arrived on the island by boat, right up front, right towards the village. Stepped off and said, I'm here to explore the ancient myth of the floating fortress of Ferris. I've heard that the village of Aknara was founded to protect the ancient fortress. What do you know about the ancient fortress? Tell me everything that you've ever heard about it. Classic story. Everyone comes being like, just tell me all your secrets, buddy. Let me know about the ancient magic in this area. And your leaders in the area, your overseer and mayor and armator get together and be like, well, no one's seen it. It's been lost.
They charge for
this,
right?
No, they try and not charge for it. They try to just give people enough information that they lose interest. They try to be like, oh yeah, well, it's not a big deal. The goal since the last age, when everything kind of went to hell and all the secrets were really lost, has been this sort of open, it's just a legend. It's just a myth.
That's the strategy,
sort of
yeah.
Hiding in plain sight strategy, right? But while they're showing this wizard around, your overseer comes to you and tells you that, hey, we can never be too careful. We've had issues before where someone approaches from the front as a distraction while they let someone sneak in from behind. So I need you to do a quick patrol of the island and see if there's any hidden boats that have been pulled up on shore, or if there's anyone else that's made it here and this is the distraction from that. And they will, get you whatever supplies you need. And you can
What do you want me to do if
own.
I find someone? Do you want me to report back?
Welcome and watch. That's the day. That's the order of the day. Keep an eye on them. If they discover anything, you have to use your best judgment. But remember that we hide in plain sight, and so killing someone or arresting someone or confronting someone only draws more suspicion.
But if they discovered something,
well, it's up to you to decide what to do in that position.
I nod.
And off you go. And the reason we're choosing this moment to explore is because you do find something as you go round the other side of the island.
I'm wearing my breastplate.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume.
Perfect. Yeah. Why not?
Got my mace.
As you get around to the backside of the island, it's 10 miles. It takes you a few hours to get there. Sure enough, you find a little boat that's been pulled up over here. It's got a small little mast that can fold down. It's got a sail. It's all been tucked down, and it's been pulled partway on shore. Not very far. You with your 13 strength could tug the boat further on land if you needed to. So whoever pulled this boat here either doesn't know anything about boats, which would then make it hard to believe that they sailed here on their own or rowed here on their own. or they're not very strong.
What happens if I just push the boat back in the water? Is it going to float away? Is it going to float around here?
You'll have to watch it. It might float out into the lake. It might just get washed back up on shore. It might get tipped if it falls to the sideways and then just sink.
Tides exist, so the first thing I'm going to do is, if they're going to find something, I don't want them getting off of the island. So I'm going to take a look around and see if I see anybody. And if I don't see anybody, the immediate action I'm going to take is I'm going to go to the boat, inspect it, look at what's inside, and then push it away to, like, get it back in the water.
You see footprints on the sandy beach here that lead inland, and you can see footprints where someone was clearly, like, digging in their heels and trying to pull something off the boat, and then little footprints around the boat, like they walked around it a few times after dragging it up onto shore, and then a set of footprints that just goes up until it hits the grass.
I'm going to push the boat in to the water.
All right.
And follow. I check the boat. Is there anything inside?
The boat has a little flap that opens up on it, and inside that flap you can find a few days worth of supplies. You find food, you find water, there is a tent and a bedroll, a coil of rope, there are 6 torches, and then there's room for a bunch of other stuff. Either they packed lightly or they've pulled some stuff off of this already.
Okay, I push the boat into the water and hope that it floats away. I say like a little prayer in my head to Falumbra, like Falumbra specifically. I say, the tides go in, the tides go out. You wouldn't mind helping me and send the boat on its way. And then I follow the tracks.
Yeah. The tracks make a beeline for the mountain. And they get to the grass where they become lost pretty quickly. And I'm going to need to make a die roll over here. Yeah. While you're standing around trying to figure out where these tracks could go, you hear the sound of like a yelp. Like the sound that someone makes when they're startled by something or they fall accidentally and hit their knee on something.
I go
like
towards
that
the sound.
Cry of, yeah. Yeah, you can see that there is a die roll, please. A young woman who is kind of sitting at the bottom of a cliffside, a coil of rope over her shoulder, a backpack on, a whole bunch of things dangling from her waist, something that looks like spell components dangling from her waist. She's got a staff that's like also attached by a little rope over her shoulder that crosses with the backpack, but also makes it kind of unwieldy across her. And she's crouched on her butt at the end of the bottom of this sheer cliffside, like holding her knee and rubbing her knee. And as the two of you approach one another,
I'll wave and
dice here.
Call out,
okay.
Hey there, ma'am. Need some help?
She looks up over at you, kind of surprised, and quickly gets to her feet, rubbing her knee, which you can see like the clothes at her legs are a bit torn now. And she hops to her feet and begins to, like, unhook her backpack and staff and set the backpack down and lean on her staff and says, "Oh, hey there."
How's it going? I'm Cedric Smith. I'm one of the wardens in this area.
I'm Daphne.
How odd is she? Cedric's looking for a lady.
She's a 13.
Okay. Well, nice to meet you, Daphne. Is there any reason that I heard someone injured, so thought I'd come over and make sure everything's okay.
I'm fine, thank you, Cedric. How noble and nice of you. But I'm okay, she says, and then just kind of stands there awkwardly.
Kind of like walk over.
She makes some conversation and points to her knee. I banged my knee. I was, climbing around a little bit, like to climb. Slipped and fell, hit my knee kind of hard. Did you know that this island is well known for its rock climbing?
I did. I'm quite the rock climber, actually. Over here, you say? I'll go and look at the area that's
it's just
trying to climb.
it's this sort of, it's not straight up and down. There's a slight angle to it. And it's in an area where the mountainside, the hillside, has like a bit of a concave section. Like the boat was pulled up to the shore and then walked to this area that's kind of hidden. So if you were on either side of the protrusions, you wouldn't be able to see someone climbing up here. It's a very concealed, comfortable little covey section of the island that she's climbing at.
Oh, you know Cove Point? I point to the area that she's trying to climb. Mm-hmm. This is a beginner hiking area. I've been, or climbing area. I've been over here quite a few times.
Oh.
As I'm over here, I'm going to be inspecting around because she was giving me weird vibes that she might have found something. So I'm going to be like looking around at what she slipped on, what's bloody, what's in her bag.
Yeah, her knee's bloodied. Her bag is not super bulky. There's not much attached to the outside, just the normal belts and buckles and straps. But it looks like it's maybe got 5 or 6 pounds of gear in it. Nothing too serious. She has the rope over her shoulder, but it doesn't look like it's being attached to anything. You don't see any hammers or pittons or climbing tools. She's not wearing a harness or anything like that.
She's not a climber, is she? She doesn't look to be one. Hard to tell if you're a climber or not.
Climbers can have pretty dense muscles, and she has long sleeves on and pants. So, like, maybe she's hiding a really, tightly built physique underneath that. Or
but
maybe
let's be honest, she didn't come here to fucking climb. Okay, she's not a. I'll ask her. Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from across the sea. I'm from Tide's End originally.
What brings you to here? My little old island.
I was exploring the Ordinelles and looking around, and she kind of looks at you. She's going to make a wisdom check against you, which is pretty good. That's actually really good. Did you say your charisma was?
My charisma's 14.
14, okay. Right. Then she pauses and goes, okay. This isn't working. I am Daphne.
Oh.
I'm here looking for some information about the floating fortress.
Oh, that old thing?
Yeah. I'm the apprentice to... I forgot if I gave her a name, but if I didn't... her name is Delilah. I'm Delilah's apprentice. She's going to the village to talk to people, and I was going to come around here and see if there's anything on the other side of the island. I'm sorry for lying to you. I just, you've got the armor on and the weapons, and I didn't know if you were going to be violent or not, but you seem like a nice guy.
I've been described as a nice guy many times before, yeah. I kind of smirk. I met Delilah. She didn't mention anything about you. I wonder why. Maybe it just slipped her old mind. Please, I can help you look. I'm going to be honest. We've looked ourselves for thousands of years, and I kind of shrug. I just don't think there's anything here. I don't know if someone found it before, or if there's just nothing to find. Maybe it's the wrong island. But I'm more than willing to help you out. I know the area better than anybody.
Yeah? Do you know how to get up on top of this mountain?
I do.
You would know ways.
You gotta climb it.
Okay.
I can help you.
I'd like to get up and take a look around. If we don't find anything, we don't find anything. But sometimes you got to do these things for the sake of adventure. Sometimes you gotta dig up your sleeves and make the same mistakes as all those people who came before you.
Well, come on. I'll help you out. And I will go through the efforts to help her out. I think in my mind as Cedric, the best thing that I can do is to help these people try to find whatever they're looking for. And if they find something, I'm going to make a decision of what to do then.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So is this like... Right now, she's trying to climb up this relatively steep area that's like well hidden from everything. There's an easy walking path to the top of the cliff. Well, it's not super. Most of it's pretty easy, and then a bit of a steep climb at the end. Are you going to try and like take her the easy route, or are you going to let her and help her up this difficult section?
It's an interesting case because I think what I'm gonna do I feel like I can climb this section myself?
Probably. You've got 13 strength. You've got a 40% chance to climb. And then, what is the bonus for this area? This is... so you have a 65% chance to climb this surface.
I'm between two minds. I think Cedric is kind of the one to, like, let people take their chances, and if they die, the absolute worst case is they're going to go to Falumbra, and they're going to be recycled into something new. I think he's going to let her climb first, and then climb after her. And he doesn't mind if he's letting it happen at this harder area, because if she falls and dies, then that kind of isn't a bad thing for me. She's got it out of it. But if she falls down, I'm not going to climb out. I'm not going to climb up. I'm just going to go to the easier area, and I'll take her there.
Got it.
So the goal is let her climb. If she falls and dies, yippee. If not, we go to the easier area.
Yeah. So she'll try for a little while, but she won't be able to scramble up this spot at all.
I know a better spot.
A few minutes.
Come on.
Great. You can lead her to the better. Yeah, that's a nice, easy walk up the side of the mountain, but there's lots of little places where you've got, like, a clear view of the village below, and the village can, like, see up here. So
which is good, because people are also seeing us now go here, and they might see her. So I'll ask her, you said you're from Tide's End?
I'm from Tide's End. It's a huge city in the bay over at the west coast of Solemn. Have you heard of it?
Have I?
Probably, yeah. It's a massive city.
Of course, who hasn't heard of Tide's End? I don't know too much about it, but, you know, anywhere is better than here. This little rinky-dink island. My family's lived here for hundreds of generations.
Wow, that's a long time.
Hold on.
You know, one of my parents came from one area, the other came from another. We've only been in Tide's End a short while. But there, I learned a little bit of magic. I've been an apprentice to
Delilah.
Delilah, thank you. I've been apprentice to Delilah for a little while, and I hope to go to one of the towers and take a test and join the Orders of Wizards in the near future.
Being a wizard's an extraordinary thing. You must have an extraordinary mind.
Well,
give her a wink.
She needs to roll. I think I do, she says, with a little bit of just, like, honest confidence.
I like your confidence. Yep. It's really nice. I think that your teacher chose well.
So, if you don't mind my asking, she says as you walk up the mountain, why are you in so much armor? Are you a knight or something? You don't sound like a knight.
Kind of shrug. Is it, like, a known thing that, like, we tell people, like, you know, we were tasked, like, originally with, like, being here and being on this island and, like, gardening it?
Those rumors and legends are out there somewhere, but it's probably not something that you... Yeah, you probably wouldn't go out of your way to say that usually.
I'm gonna make a lie here and say, well, I'm dressed like this because the woods are actually pretty. There's woods here. The woods are actually pretty dangerous, so we send out people like me who work for the town to make sure that people who come here and do the adventuring are safe, and that I'm safe in my armor from the dangers of the woods.
How dangerous is it? She says, taking a moment and looking around, pausing her steps. I have a couple of spells ready, but, you know, nothing that can affect anything huge.
Have you ever heard of a dinglebear?
What's a dinglebear?
I explained that we have a bear on this island with 2 sets of testicles, and they're pretty big and pretty ginormous, so I keep this and I show her my
bears
mace.
Or the testicles?
Both. It's quite the sight. A lot of, I don't know the word. A lot of people who study animals come here just for the dinglebear.
Could you make me a charisma check for how truthful this is? She's a little suspicious that you might be lying to her.
Yeah, I guess I'm lying about the dinglebear.
Yeah. 12. She rolls a 28. You roll a 16. She cracks a smile, thinking that this is an obvious joke that you can't really be talking about.
Good. And then I'll just keep leading her up the mountain, you know? Take her up
Yeah.
to whatever viewpoint she wanted to see.
So tell me, Cedric, if you've introduced yourself now, why the breastplate? Obviously, there's no dinglebears around here.
I kind of sigh. It was my grandfather's breastplate, and it's quite the honor, actually. His dad wore it. My dad wore it. I'm a blacksmith, so I've been maintaining it, and I'm just keeping it. Or I guess I'm, making sure that it's all in working order for myself when I maybe need it one day. Kind of shrug. Always wanted to be a great knight.
She nods. Eventually, you reach one of the little narrow passages along this section of the hill, and from this narrow passage, like other ones before, you have a clear line of sight to town. And this is one of those line of sights that's maintained by the wardens. Like if ever a tree grows to sort of block this line of sight, someone goes and like cuts the tree down. And that way from the town, you can see if anyone's walking up that pass. And if you're up on the pass and you need to signal to town, you've got a couple of spots with like really clear, easy access views. And one of the, at this spot in particular, there's some old ruins. There used to be a watchtower here once upon a time. You can see like the square base of it that's still here. Most of the stone has been carried away. After the cataclysmic events at the beginning of the Age of Iron, like all of the fortifications on the island were destroyed. They say the skies erupted and lightning bolts rained down, blasting stones all over the place. And the
Vanguard
commander was swept out to sea, and the new commander had a bit of a hard time at that point. Like a lot of the lore had been lost, a lot of secrets had been lost, and so the new commander cannibalized the fortress's remains to help build the town, and he helped turn the swords and armors into plows, and he used the cataclysmic event to rebrand the fortress's defenders into like a quiet village.
What an actual good guy. He had all of these fucking weapons, and he's like, well, what are we gonna do with these? Make it into nice plows to feed the people.
Yeah. So this is one of those old towers from long, long ago, and Daphne's here, and she's taking a look at it. And she's like, "What? Is this part of the fortress?"
I
She goes up, like, touching the stone.
And this old thing, I'll explain to her kind of, again, I go for more of like there might have been a fortress here. I don't actually think that there was, but I really do. And I'll be like, well, this, some people say, is where the fortress was, and it was taken. People say that Ferris already came here and took it back. I kind of shrug. My family just used this as regular stonework for our house.
Where I'm from, they say that Ferris is still alive, and that he has been working with the Empire of Verasi.
I kind of shrug. The Empire? I've heard about them, but we don't really worry about them here.
They're not here? They're everywhere. We had to pass through their lines to get here. She says, exclaiming like, what?
Oh, yeah, we're not worried about them at all. We just kind of live our own life. I shrug. Empire, schmempire,
She nods. So this was just a regular old tower?
Just a regular old tower.
You wouldn't mind if I cast a spell at it then, right?
No, I'd love to see that, actually. I haven't really seen magic being from this hodunk town. What are you gonna cast?
She makes like a stand back.
Oh yeah,
brave
yeah.
citizen.
I stand back, but I ask her what she's gonna cast.
I'm gonna cast a divination spell to see if there's remnants of magic that can draw me towards the ultimate nature of this tower and then the fortress here.
All right.
She cracks her fingers, puts her hands in the air, draws a line, speaks a couple of words. It's over in a flash.
Gonna put. Oh,
go ahead.
when she's like, what's the casting time of the spell?
1.
I know we're not rolling initiative for the main campaign. Do you want to roll initiative for this?
Sure.
5.
4.
Okay, she gets it off. I was just gonna like interrupt her a little bit, like put my hand on her and be like, oh, like, but doesn't go.
Nope. Yep. She gets her spell off, and there's kind of like a twinkling of light around her for a moment as the spell is cast, and she pauses and says, "Hold on, I need to focus now," and like puts her hands up and looks directly at the ruins.
Do you
and
see
concentrates
anything?
for a minute. She holds her gaze and then shakes her head and puts her hands down. No, it's just regular rock.
I sigh.
She unslings the backpack and then takes out a small little shovel, like a little handheld tiny shovel, and says, "Do you mind if I dig around at the base of this tower?"
I can help you.
She hands you the shovel.
Where would you like me to dig?
Right here, right at the base. I want to see if the stones connect to something deeper within, or maybe there's like an abandoned, cellar underneath this watchtower.
I nod. In my mind, it's better if I dig because she might be off looking at something else when I'm digging, and if I actually find something, I'm gonna obfuscate it and just be like, "Yeah, there's nothing here. Let's go over here."
Got it.
Strength.
Got it. Yes, please.
22.
Excellent roll. Yeah, you dig, and she kind of stands next to you and holds her hands near her head. And
Do you
want to
dig over
down
there
here.
while I dig here?
I only have the one shovel, she says, but I can't talk. I need to concentrate on the spell. And then she like puts her hands back near her face and like stares really hard near where you're digging, trying to look at something. And you can kind of like, as you're shoveling, you got to get your body down into the holes. And so I think you can find a way to block her view, which is kind of the vibe
That's the
I'm
goal.
getting from
Yeah,
you.
100%. Again, I'm assuming that there's not really anything here, but like, why not go all out to protect the homeland?
Right. You can dig down maybe 3 feet until you reach the like extent of the shovel where you don't have to like dig out a hole for you to stand in, and the rock goes down a little bit, and then it just gives way to like mountain rock, not the dirt that's on it, but just like the bedrock of the mountain, and you can see it's just sat down on there with a little bit of old concrete to hold it in place.
I show her that.
Yeah, she
You want me to
focuses
keep
on it
going?
and then shakes her head and says, nothing. You said that the local legend had that Ferris already came and took the fortress?
I've heard many a legend, but that's the prevailing one. That he came back already and took the fortress away, and this was the resting point.
She looks around like it was on top of the mountain or in the lake?
I point to the lake in the middle. It was said to have actually not been on this island, but this is one of like the watchtower areas for it. But it's said to have been right there floating above the lake. And I kind of point, can I see like the whole outline of the lake, or is this like way too big for that?
No, you're up on the hilltop. You can see all sorts of stuff.
I'll point to her like the whole, like you see like the 4 tributaries or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'll point to like all 4 of those and be like, it said like the Ferris thing was like this big, as big as this entire lake, and it was above.
That's huge.
And now
It can't be the size of the whole lake. That's insane. Wouldn't someone have seen it if it had floated away? Wouldn't people know? Who could forget that?
That's what people say, but it was thousands of years ago.
Was it before or after the Age of Iron?
I shrug. I'm really not sure what the Age of Iron is.
Well, I think your people call it when something about the oceans attacked the land.
Oh, when the storms came and the mountains rose.
That's one of the I hear that's
Okay,
how what people
Yeah, it would have been I think I think my grandfather said it was after that. Almost immediately after, he said that like Ferris came back, but I've also heard that he came back a few decades after.
Well, you know, the first century there was a pretty chaotic time. Everything had been smashed. Everything had to be rebuilt from the ground up. Maybe. Huh, that's an interesting story.
I shrug. It's all pretty chaotic times. But at least this moment in time is nice here with you. I smile.
She smiles politely back at you.
Well, where are we looking next?
Top of the mountain, I suppose, which doesn't take that far to get to. You know, it's only, it's not that tall. You can get to the top, and she'll have a seat down. Her spell's long worn off by now, and kind of just look out over the island. You can see the village below. There's some people gathered around her. Her master is down there, clearly chatting with some of your folks. And she kind of kicks her feet as it hangs off a cliffside. So, Cedric, I think my job here is more or less done. I only had the one divination spell and one protection spell for the day. I was, what do you think of all of this? This floating fortress nonsense? I mean, clearly it used to exist, but aside from it coming and going, you know, what do you...
I'll sit beside her. I think this whole floating fortress is something for people to cling on to hope for, of better times and adventures and things to do. You know, we hear about all of the heroics of the past and what great people did. And I think that a lot of people like to cling on to that versus finding their own way.
She nods her head. Back where I'm from, there's a legend of good King Arnold, a man who, you know, shaped the lands and was ultimately done in by his own allies and his own appointees. But that's not the story that everyone tells. Everyone tells the story about good King Arnold and the crusades against evil dragons and destroying armies of the undead. And, you know, it wasn't until I really began to study that I learned that he was deeply unpopular in his time. His own advisors had brought him down and stabbed him in the back, killing him, and that his great paladin was then lost at sea in a terrible storm, and everything that he had done came crashing down to the ground again. And I think you're right. I think people like the good stories and like to ignore
the realities. I cut her off a little bit.
The realities, the inconvenient truths of it all.
Those times are done, or they may have never even happened. But if you do want to see something really cool, are you going to be here tonight?
Yeah, I'm here for a few days, I think.
It's the full moon. Have you ever seen Falumbra so close?
I have. Yeah, the Steamwall Mountains, I've climbed to their tops, and they're much, much taller than this.
That sounds amazing. Well, this is the tallest point I've ever been to.
You haven't explored this? Really? This is just it's a little hill. Have you not?
I kind of.
I mean, even the rest of your island, even the rest of Fedoria has big mountains. You haven't been to the Ordinelles?
I've never been off Aknara. Ankara? Aknara.
Aknara.
I've never been off of Aknara.
She looks at you dumbfounded. Like, you've got plate mail on. You have a mace. And yet you've never been off this 3-mile wide island? That's a tiny landscape.
It's big to me. I kind of shrug.
Huh. Do you want to explore the rest of the world?
Cedric kind of thinks about it for a second. If the gods will it, I say.
I couldn't sit still. You know, I grew up in the slums on the north side of Tide's End, right near the harbor. It was a terrible place. I couldn't wait to get out of it. I mean, the city was huge, but it felt cramped and stinky, and people were always trading places with one another. Now, I'm used to people coming and going, and I'm used to like not really knowing my neighbors too much because of the big city and everything, but I feel like I would get really trapped on this small island. No offense to you or any people who choose to continue living here.
I think that I think some people are born for a reason, and if the gods choose it, that this be my lifetime to go out and adventure, that I'm sure Falumbra will show me. Kind of shrug.
Put a lot of faith in these gods.
I mean, they're real, they exist. You'd be kind of a fool not to, right?
Well, certainly, but when was the last time they really had a hand in anything on the world?
Well, every night when I look up, I see my deity.
All right, so you're a gooey romantic. I get it then. Okay.
I give her like a bashful nod, yeah.
Well, what do you spend your days doing here? She says, kind of losing the track of the fortress and everything, and just making small talk.
Well, I'm a smith. I'm a reader. I'm a writer. I would say I spend.
They teach you those things out here.
Well, they taught me it. I've got some small poems and all, but they're back at home.
Do you write poetry?
Well,
come on. What do you got?
When you live on an island this small, what else are you gonna do?
Maybe recite poetry for a new friend?
He'll recite a poem for her, okay?
Do you got one for me, Mr. Moon?
I don't have one for you. No.
You don't have one, okay.
But
sure.
I can give you a charisma roll for him to come up with a poetry on the spot.
I want a combination charisma and intelligence, because I think poetry is a dual stat that's hard to manage.
25 on the int.
Nice.
And a 25 on the charisma.
Well done. Yeah, she looks at you and is like, that's surprisingly good for a smith from a backwater island.
The Smiths on my dad's side, my mom's family was more into protecting, and then I kind of go about knowledge.
Huh. Well, if you ever want to see the rest of the world, why don't you come to Tide's End? I don't live in a slum down by the coast anymore. I live in the... Oh no, I need to set lore for something that might happen or might not happen 30 sessions from now. In the something district. Tides End districts. Where does her master live? They live in... we're going to call it the Stone District. If you can find my master's home, it's called... Fuck, this was not expected to be come by. It is called...
Delilah's something?
What's the... it's called Ashtop House in the Stone District.
While she's kind of talking and thinking about it, Cedric would probably be writing the poem down that he recited for her, and he'll give her the piece of parchment in the poem, and he'll sign it and everything. Here, you can keep this until I visit you again in, you said Tide's End?
In Tide's End, Stone District, Ashtop House. Ask around. There's no map of the city. It's way too big for anyone to ever actually create a full-fledged map of. But if you ask around, people will know where Ashtop House is.
I understand what that's like. Your beauty would be too hard to even put to paper.
Wow. All right. Hard sell. We're going to... Give me your best charisma roll, and we're going to take her best...
After poetry, I should get a plus. I just wrote her an awesome poem.
That's true, and this is one you recited from memory, so I'll give
Yeah.
you a +2 on the roll. 21 is
That's
now
21.
a success.
All right. Whew. Okay, we got got a success at least.
So this is her charisma. Okay, how do I? What is her counter roll to see if she's wooed by this? Your roll, a high roll for you works well. Does her charisma even matter? Maybe this is just a.
It just depends, I guess, if she's into it or not. You know.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna roll. I want your better success for you to be more likely to affect her. So I'm gonna roll a d20 plus 10, and she needs to roll under your roll to be interested in what you're saying. So that way, if you roll very high, it makes it more likely for her to be interested.
Okay.
So, and a success on your part, a 21, like you've done exactly, is a 50-50 chance for her to be interested. This is a good mechanic.
It's a decent mechanic.
14 plus 10 is a 24. She looks at you with that, like, oh,
It's
you
too
poor
much,
country
yeah.
boy. Like,
She's a city girl. It's all right. I'll get her in the
She's-
future.
yeah. That's very sweet of you.
I give her a smile.
Yeah. I'm sure you do real well around these parts, but, you know, when you're an aspiring wizard, there's only room for one love in your life, and that love is magic.
I nod. Don't worry. I'm looking for the perfect girl. I've turned down every girl in this village, so maybe that'll be the reason I get out there on an adventure.
Every girl in this village?
I mean, there's not many people who recite poetry.
I suppose, and it does look to be quite a small village. But wow,
I'm gonna leave her.
that's-
I'm gonna leave her with that because she's gonna be like, "Well, hold on. Now, what about this hodunk guy? You know, maybe I read him wrong. That poetry that she's got in her hand, it's gonna simmer in her mind, and she's gonna be like,
all right.
I'll stand up gracefully from my. She turned me down, but I'm just like, I'll get her on the back burner. Come on, let's. What do you say we go down to the village?
I'm supposed to do some exploring, looking for ruins, and not meet up with Delilah for a couple days. But I suppose you've caught me. So
there's no catching.
sure.
Okay, come on.
All right. She'll head back down to the village with you.
Does she want to go to her ship? Does she like say like I need to get a few things first, or
She
does she
doesn't.
just go to the village? Okay, perfect. Because I won't bring
She
it up.
doesn't. Yeah. I think from the cove where you guys were standing, the ship was just far enough out of view that she didn't see it. And then when you led her up the mountain, you took a route that had more cover between
I'm
you
also
and the
going
boat.
to take her a route not that way then.
Great. Yep. You can come down, head back to the village before sunset. And I think we can close our chapter here. You've successfully helped defend the ancient floating fortress of Ferris from would-be onlookers and minimized the importance of it. And, you know, had a nice connection and made a friend. Maybe. She did invite you to come take a look at her place or visit anytime that you're in Tide's End.
Oh yeah, and I'm going to be in her mind. Can I ask? Okay. Didn't initially plan the character like this, but that's the fun of character creation. You're finding out who they are. Can I ask for to remove one because I put 2 in religion?
Yeah.
Can I put 1 into poetry?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. We do a little poetry. What would poetry
Excellent.
base off of? Charisma? I don't think there's a poetry non-weapon proficiency.
There's not.
There's artistic
is-
skill.
Yes, I think if I look up
Artistic ability?
artistic ability are naturally accomplished in various forms of arts. They have inherent understanding of color, form, space, flow, pitch, tone, and rhythm. Must select one art form: painting, sculpture, composition, etc. Poetry
Okay.
would be one of them.
So
to
I'll
be
take
proficient
artistic
in.
ability.
Yeah.
And
I'm just going to read the
in
rest of
poetry.
this because you might need it.
100%.
Thereafter, they can attempt to create artwork or musical compositions, poetry, in their given field. Although it is not necessary to make a proficiency check, one can be made to determine the quality of work. If a 20 is rolled on the check, the artist has created a work of truly lasting value. If the check fails, the artist has created something aesthetically displeasing or just plain bad.
Artistic ability also confers a +1 bonus to all proficiency checks requiring artistic skill. So that's why if you roll a 20, you still pass.
Right. Got it. Also, like if
Okay.
you get artistic ability and then you get dance, your artistic ability will improve your dance score by 1 because you're already an artiste.
So there isn't like a, is there like a plus or minus to this? There's gotta be on
Artistic
the non-weapon.
ability. It's a flat ability scored off of wisdom.
Perfect. Wisdom for poetry. Can we base it off of charisma for flavor, or does it? We can do wisdom. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, let's just keep it to wisdom.
Sure.
Yeah.
An adjustment +1. Okay, cool. So I would roll an artistic ability check, and it would be based off of my that. So it would be like this is what would roll, correct?
Yep.
Because you get a +1 as well. So perfect.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, she's got the poetry. She's got my name. She's got the love that we shared on top of that hill. Before we end, I will say that I'll try and find her at night and take her to the tallest point if she's interested to go watch the moon together and, I don't know, fucking talk.
I think she is going to be busy. You know, they're here for a purpose. And as much as you would like, and maybe that she would like to have some time to like explore things, this is a work trip for her. And wizards need their sleep, so she politely declines. And you can see, like through the tent flap or through the door or whatever, like her master, Delilah, looking over, being like, "What is this young man doing over here, trying to distract my apprentice?" And like you can see that once you leave, that she's gonna get that Daphne's gonna get a talking to from Delilah about not getting distracted by the local talent.
Gonna make the heart grow fonder, Koibu, because she's gonna be like, God, my fucking master is being such an asshole to me. I could be out there with the local boy looking at the moon like he was telling me about. He said it's the biggest in the world.
Right.
Also, when she declines me, I immediately go to my overseer, my warden, whoever, and I let him know exactly what happened today and exactly how I have undone this situation. I also tell him about the boat that they had on the far part of the island, and that the boat mysteriously went back into the water, and it will be probably floating out there, gone, etc.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think this is a nice first little taste of Cedric Smith. I don't have anything else for us today. We're going to do all the other players' character creation, and then depending on how our timing works out, we might do 1 or 2 sessions, or we might not do any, where we just get like the whole party together to undergo some small quest and like just get the party dynamic figured out, because I really want to feel how everyone works together before this big campaign starting event happens. It would be nice to just have a little bit of who are we as a group before the campaign starts. But
Sweet.
Timings might not allow for that. So that's it for character creation on Floating Fortress today. We'll have another session for you coming up soon. I'm meeting.
Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yep. I'm meeting with other players to record some of these things offline, and then are we broadcasting? We'll figure it out. We'll let you know.
If you can broadcast them, then yeah. But we're also going to be doing Hardly Heroes probably next week. Hopefully we can get like an episode in, and then that's going to be starting back up. But we're going to be focusing on Floating Fortress for the next like week or 2.
All right.
See you guys.
That's it. Ciao.